All right, so if you're in St. Mary's County and you have kids, this is going to be a really awesome conversation because I'm sitting here with Lisa and Rachel from Boundless Expectations to talk about what they do in this building and what are some of the things that you wouldn't expect. So, Lisa, thanks for having me. Rachel, good to be here with you guys. So just to get things started, Lisa, you started this several years back. What was the motivation and how'd you get started?
Well, in 2015, we opened our doors. I was working with some parents who were struggling. We were doing some advocacy, and we were also trying to get some tutors trained because we were having parents that were not getting what they needed for their students in the school. So we decided to start a nonprofit. The parents actually were the most vocal of the, in our group.
Mm-hmm.
And they were like, no, you have to start an organization. So we started a nonprofit back then, and we focus on specialized educational services. So we provide specialized tutoring at the therapy level for kids who struggle with reading, writing, and math. We also do other tutoring. We do some executive function here and there, some writing tutoring. Yeah, we do a bunch of other different things. When parents call and say, I don't know what's going on, but my student is struggling, my child is having trouble with this, we will kind of talk through that with them and kind of see what things, if we have things that we can offer to help them, we'll have them come in, and then Rachel will do their informal assessment. And so we do informal assessments to kind of get a baseline and diagnostic look at where their students are. And then we will try to figure out what the next steps might be. And that might be advocacy, consultation, working with schools to get services for their students, or just tutoring here at our center.
When I think people hear about Boundless Expectations for the first time, they probably want to know, just in a sentence or two, what does it mean to be like providing therapy level tutoring? Because we talked a little bit earlier off camera just about the difference between some of the tutoring that happens, in most places that you would go to, and then some of the things that are a little bit different about what you guys are doing here. So can you talk a little bit more about what makes you guys different in that respect?
It's called a structured literacy approach. Structured literacy is a diagnostic, systematic, explicit, and cumulative approach to reading. So we use a program. We start all students, no matter where they've come in, at the same level to fill in any gaps. And it's a very slow, layered approach. Our motto is we go as fast as we can, but as slow as we must, so that we are not just creating more noise in our students' brains. We're getting their skills down to mastery before layering on another approach.
So as a parent of a 3-year-old, 3, 4, as a parent of a 3, 4, and 6-year-old, I'm definitely in the thicket of learning how to teach when it comes to reading and writing and whatnot. So with that being said, I think that a lot of parents oftentimes kind of think, my school has the responsibility of providing the basics. And if I think that my son or daughter isn't really reading or writing as fast as I think that they should, I think it's easy for me to think that they've got it, or like this maybe isn't like a big deal, but I'm just like not really sure whether or not they're progressing as fast as they should be. So if you've got a parent who's kind of in that situation where they're like, I'm just not really sure whether my child is falling behind or not, like, what's your advice to them?
Well, they can always call. I will say we are very blessed to be down here. I think St. Mary's County Public Schools are on the cusp. They're at the forefront of using the science of reading and a structured literacy approach in the schools, which not all counties in our state actually have. So we are really lucky that way. But you never know where things might fall apart, where someone might be missing something. But that is definitely a time that you can give us a call and just say, hey, here's my questions, here's my concern, and we'll take a look, or we'll talk right then and there.
For myself and my wife, we kind of feel like, the problem is just that, like, Pia, you're not trying hard enough. Maybe you're just, being lazy, or you're just being unfocused, or whatever it might be. So do you find that a lot of kids that are struggling in reading and writing, is it more often than the case that they actually are just being lazy, that they're being unfocused, or you guys find it's some other kind of issues? And if so, what are those?
Yeah, we have never so we've had over 300 students come through our center. And actually, 2 of them have been adults as well, but we have never found a single child that has just not wanted to do it or been lazy. But what we do find is that a lot of our parents that call and have that concern, there is usually an underlying disability that we do find when they call.
But like, what percentage of folks actually have dyslexia when they come through?
81% is dyslexia.
Obviously, there's a degree to which we all got to put food on the table and pay the bills and things of that nature. But, over and above the financials, why do you guys do what you're doing?
The reason we do it is just, it's the same reason we probably both went into education. We love teaching. We love kids. It's amazing the impact that you can see on families. When I first started doing this, I was like, I just don't know. I don't know. But very quickly, within 6 months of having our doors actually open and all of the pain and agony it went through to get a nonprofit, it immediately became very apparent that it's not just having an impact, it's changing lives.
Earlier, you guys told me 2 interesting things about this topic in particular. One was that neither of you guys were very good at school at the very beginning, right? And then the second thing was just basically about the relationship between being illiterate and being in prison. So could you guys talk to me a little bit about that as well? Like, so what was it like when you were struggling in school?
Well, so when I was struggling in school, I had no idea. Honestly, I just hated Fridays. As a matter of fact, I hated Fridays so much because of spelling tests on Fridays that I became ill one day with such a horrible headache that I remember I got an ambulance ride to the hospital. And it was not because I really had a headache. It just was one of those days where I was like, I'm not going to spelling test. It's going to be the last one that I'm, of 10 that I'm going to fail. And I wasn't going to do it. So yeah, it was a hard time through elementary school, middle school. But I did have good teachers. I had really great teachers. I did learn a phonics-based way to teach or to learn to read. And then I did get help through middle school as well. And then by the time I was in high school, I didn't feel any different than anybody else. So went on to college and it worked out.
My story is somewhat similar. I didn't really know that I was struggling. I do have a very vivid memory of being in 3rd grade, and this was in the era of a pool language learning, which is a different style of learning that we are now moving away from. But we had dropped everything in read time. And I remember my teacher calling me over, and I was a well-behaved, kind of like goody two-shoes student, and calling me over and telling me that I need to stop going to pick out books and I need to actually sit down and read them, because all I would do was pick out a book and flip through it, put it back, get another one. I could have certainly used some intensive remediation, but I got by without it. In college is really where I saw the struggle, when I would just avoid writing an essay, like just run from my computer, except for education classes, because now you're speaking my language and my passion.
So what made you decide to start Boundless Expectations?
When we saw the success that we were having with we had 2 tutors in the beginning, we realized that's where we really needed to make progress, is to continue to increase our number of tutors so that we could have that positive impact on families. It is probably one of the largest benefits for becoming a tutor is that relationship you get with your families when you're tutoring. And it's because, yes, you're teaching them how to read and slowly doing so, but families quickly come to realize you're actually changing a life. And so it is an amazing impact that our tutors have with their children and with the families that we work with. So, obviously we know right now that if you look at the prisons and the incarcerated people who are there right now, if you look at juvenile offenders, you're looking at about 80% of students or 80% of incarcerated inmates are functionally illiterate.
No, you're fine. I mean, I can see how this topic just kind of moves you emotionally, the idea of helping people. Where does that come from?
You learn to love these kids. You learn to love them. And then when you see them struggle, it's so heart-wrenching. But then wait, see, it's getting worse.
No, keep going. Keep going.
You could actually make that impact. And that's actually where I started. What really got me into this, my daughter was in 3rd grade and my son was in 5th grade. My daughter was in 3rd grade. By the end of 3rd grade, we figured out she was dyslexic, dysgraphic, and had ADHD. And none of her teachers, they had any idea. Everyone was like, no, no, no. But that's when I realized that the kids that I was helping as a volunteer in that school with my son when he started in kindergarten, I started with 5 kids. By the time I was graduating with them in 5th grade, they were graduating in 5th grade, I had 21 kids out of 100 that I was working with. I would come in 2 to 3 days a week and work with them on reading. And I couldn't figure out, like, what was it that was holding them back? What could we do that was different? And I was really worried about them. And those are the kids.
Those are the ones that were the inspiration to get Boundless Expectations off the ground? Wow. So now that you've done it since 2015, we're in our, 8th year, something of that sort? How have you seen, like, the fruits of your labor bear out?
It's unbelievable. I mean, and it's the parents who are just come to us for like, you changed our kids' lives. And it's pretty cool. So that,
it's little things from the parents that seem like nothing, like, oh yeah, well, he was reading from the menu the other day. So these kind of milestones that we take for granted, but then we have so much pride that they read the menu, or, oh yeah, he was reading his homework directions the other day. Little things, little shifts that never would have happened. And those just the parent feedback, seeing the progress with the students, and the days that are good, and I sit back and I'm just blown away with the progress that my clients have made, and then we hear from the parents, and it's everything. It's the best.
Yeah.
It's the best paycheck in the world.
That's cool. If you're talking to a parent who's not sure whether or not their student or their son or daughter is struggling enough with reading that, they could benefit from someone like yourself, what's like the one thing that you would want them to know about Boundless Expectations? What would you want people to know about yourselves?
We're here to just make sure we can help your child. And if finances are an issue too, then, we will figure out what it takes to try and make it happen.
Awesome. Well, from the conversation with you guys, I can see that you guys are putting together a really, really awesome service for the kids that come through here, and doing that all from the perspective of like just a lot of empathy, a lot of heart. I think that if anybody has a child who is struggling in this way, you guys should be the first they should talk to. So I really appreciate you guys sharing what you guys are doing and just doing what you're doing for the community. So it's been a pleasure.
Thank you so much.
Putting it out there.
Yeah, of course. Happy to. All right.